Drummerly.com Unlimited Drama Series.
Nothing says happy family like your wife getting wine drunk on boxed Merlot before your daughter's first birthday cake is even cut. I'm Tom Grady, 41 years old, project manager for a mid-sized insurance company, and I'm watching my life implode in real time while surrounded by pink balloons and screaming toddlers. Tommy, honey, could you grab more ice from the garage? Elise calls out, her voice already carrying that telltale slur that means she's 3 glasses deep into her special occasion drinking. My wife of 3 years looks stunning as always. Blonde hair, perfectly styled, designer jeans that probably cost more than my monthly car payment, and that practice smile she uses for her PR job. Sure thing, I mutter, stepping over a gaggle of kids who are systematically destroying our living room. Our house on Briarwood Lane is the kind of place I never thought I'd live. Upper middle class, suburban paradise with a 2-car garage and a mortgage that keeps me awake at night. Little Zoe sits in her high chair, chocolate cake smeared across her cherubic face, completely oblivious to the chaos around her. She's the one good thing to come out of this marriage, even if she did arrive faster than we'd planned. Sometimes I catch myself staring at her, wondering if she'll inherit my sarcastic streak or her mother's talent for manipulation. Tom's such a good daddy, coos Kelly, Elise's best friend and professional enabler. Kelly's the type who thinks wine at noon is European and considers gossip a legitimate hobby. You're so lucky, Elise. I'm hauling ice bags from our oversized freezer when I hear it. The conversation that changes everything. The kitchen window is cracked open, and voices carry from the patio where Elise and Kelly have retreated with their wine. Lucky? Elise's laugh is bitter, harsh. Kelly, you have no idea. Tom's sweet and all, but he's not exactly, well, he's not my type. Never was. I freeze. Ice bags cutting into my arms. What do you mean? Kelly's voice drops to that conspiratorial whisper women use when they're about to share something deliciously awful. I mean, Zoe isn't even his. The words hit me like a physical blow. I used Dave's sperm, my ex-husband. I had some stored before the accident, and when Tom and I were trying, well, let's just say I made sure the right sample got used. Nobody knows, but Zoe's really Dave's baby. Now there was a man. The ice bags slipped from my numb fingers, hitting the garage floor with a wet thud that echoes in my suddenly hollow chest. Dave, her dead ex-husband, the war hero she supposedly got over before we met. The man whose photo she still keeps in her jewelry box, thinking I don't know about it. Elise! Kelly sounds shocked, but there's excitement there too. You can't be serious. Dead serious. Tom's just the co-parent, the safe choice, the provider. But Zoe? She's got Dave's genes, Dave's strength. I couldn't let Tom's weakness pollute that. I stand there in my own garage, surrounded by the detritus of suburban success, lawnmower, golf clubs I never use, boxes of Christmas decorations, and feel my world tilt sideways. You know it's over when your wife admits in public that you're the world's most pathetic sperm donor. My hands shake as I grab 2 bags of ice and head back inside. The party continues around me like nothing happened. Kids shriek, adults laugh, and my mother Evelyn holds court near the cake table, probably complaining about how I never call enough. There he is! Elise beams at me as I dump ice into the cooler, her performance flawless. My hero. Yeah, I manage, my voice surprisingly steady. That's me, the hero. The rest of the party passes in a blur. I smile, I nod, I clean up spilled juice and pretend my chest isn't caving in. When the last guest leaves, Elise disappears upstairs for a shower, humming happily like she didn't just detonate my entire existence. I sit in Zoe's nursery, watching her sleep, memorizing every detail of her face. She has Dave's nose. I can see it now, the resemblance I'd been too blind or too trusting to notice. The birth certificate on the wall mocks me with my name in the father box, a legal fiction built on lies. That night, while Elise sleeps off her wine, I pack quietly. Just essentials: clothes, laptop, important documents. I leave behind the birth certificate, but not before taking a black marker and crossing out my name with deliberate strokes. Let her explain that. I grab Zoe's favorite stuffed elephant from the nursery, the one I bought her at the hospital gift shop the day she was born, the day I thought I became a father. My phone starts buzzing before I even reach my car. Text after text from Elise. Where are you? Tom, what's wrong? Why is Zoe's elephant missing? Tom, please answer me. I don't understand what happened. We need to talk. Tom, you're scaring me. 53 messages by the time I check into a motel across town. I read every single one, watching her panic escalate, her confusion turn to anger, then back to desperate pleading. Each message is a small victory, a tiny payment on the massive debt she owes me. But it's not enough, not nearly enough. The law offices of Karp and Associates smell like leather and disappointment. Mr. Karp himself is a thin, methodical man who speaks in precise legal terminology and charges $300 an hour to explain why my life is a fraud. Paternity fraud is a complex area, he says, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses, particularly when the child was conceived through artificial insemination without your knowledge or consent. So I have a case? I lean forward in the expensive chair, my cheap suit feeling even cheaper in these surroundings. Oh yes, fraud, intentional infliction of emotional distress, possibly conspiracy if others were involved. Karp's smile is thin but predatory. The question is, what do you want? Financial compensation? Custody modification? Public vindication? All of it, I say without hesitation. I want her to pay for every lie, every day she let me believe I was Zoe's father. 3 days later, Elise gets served at her office. The papers are delivered during her weekly team meeting, in front of her colleagues and her boss. I specifically requested that timing. The process server calls me afterward to report that she didn't take it well. My phone explodes with calls and messages. Elise, her mother Judith, even my own mother Evelyn. I ignore them all, savoring the silence that follows the storm. The first crack in her composure comes at the grocery store. I'm buying frozen dinners and beer, the diet of the newly divorced, when I spot Elise's SUV in the parking lot. She's sitting in the driver's seat, talking animatedly on her phone, gesturing wildly. I'm loading groceries into my rental car when she appears beside me like an angry ghost. Tom, we need to talk. Her perfect makeup can't hide the dark circles under her eyes. This lawsuit is insane. You can't seriously think what? That you're a lying, manipulative fraud? I slam the trunk shut. Because I have it on good authority that's exactly what you are. I never said. You told Kelly at Zoe's party about Dave's sperm, about how I'm just the safe choice and the provider. Her face goes white. Did you forget about the kitchen window, sweetheart? She recovers quickly. I'll give her that. Tom, you misunderstood. I was drunk. I was upset about Dave's anniversary. His death anniversary was 6 months ago. Try again. Look, even if I said something stupid, Zoe loves you. You're her father in every way that matters, except biologically, except legally, once the DNA test comes back, except in the way where you actually tell the truth for once in your miserable life. Her mask slips completely. You bastard. After everything I've given you, this is how you repay me? I made you a father. No, I say, getting into my car. You made me a fool. There's a difference. The war escalates quickly. Elise hires Mr. Gold, a slick attorney who specializes in making innocent men look like monsters. Within a week, I'm suspended from work pending an investigation into domestic violence allegations that materialized out of thin air. The accusations are creative, I'll give them that. According to Elise's sworn statement, I'm a controlling, emotionally abusive husband who threatened her and Zoe. She has photos, clearly doctored, showing bruises on her arms. She has witnesses, Kelly and my own mother, ready to testify about my violent temper. It's character assassination, I tell Nate, my one remaining friend, over beers at Murphy's Tavern. Nate's a software engineer with a drinking problem and a talent for sarcasm that rivals my own. She's trying to destroy me before I can destroy her. So destroy her first, Nate says, signaling for another round. You're in IT. You know how to dig up dirt in the digital age. He's right. And I know exactly where to start. Brandon Holt runs a high-end fitness center called Elite Bodies, where Elise has been a client for the past 8 months. Brandon's 39, divorced, and has the kind of sculpted physique that comes from steroids. And narcissism. His Instagram is full of shirtless selfies and motivational quotes about conquering life. What his Instagram doesn't show Is his habit of sleeping with married clients in the private training rooms after hours? Or his cocaine problem? Or the fact that he owes $60,000 in back taxes? I know this because his ex-wife, Natalie, is more than happy to share when I track her down at the coffee shop where she works. Natalie is bitter, angry, and armed with 2 years' worth of evidence about Brandon's infidelities. Your wife isn't his first married conquest, she tells me, sliding a manila envelope across the table. And she won't be his last. Brandon collects trophies, rich, bored housewives looking for excitement. The envelope contains photos, text message screenshots, and bank records showing payments from several married women to Brandon's personal training account. The amounts are too large for legitimate fitness services. Why are you helping me? I ask. Natalie's smile is sharp as broken glass. Because Brandon destroyed my life, and I want to watch his world burn. Your wife is just collateral damage. That evening, I sit in my motel room planning my counterattack. Elise wants to play dirty? Fine. I've learned from the best, her. My phone buzzes with another message from my mother. Thomas, you need to stop this nonsense and apologize to Elise. That girl is the best thing that ever happened to you. I stare at the message, remembering something Natalie mentioned earlier. Something about Brandon's older clients and mother-daughter packages at the gym. A terrible suspicion begins to form. The Women in Power luncheon at the Marriott downtown is exactly the kind of event Elise lives for. Networking, wine, and the opportunity to play the victim for a room full of sympathetic professional women. She's scheduled to speak about overcoming personal adversity at 2 o'clock. I arrive at 1:30, dressed in my best suit and carrying a briefcase full of evidence. The hotel staff doesn't question my presence. I look like every other middle-aged businessman in the building. Miss Fenn, Elise's HR director, is easy to spot. She's the severe-looking woman in the navy blazer, holding court near the registration table. I've done my homework on Miss Fenn too. Divorced, workaholic, and according to Brandon's credit card records, a recent client at Elite Bodies. Excuse me. I approach with my most professional smile. I'm Tom Grady, Elise's husband. I have some materials for her presentation. Miss Fenn's expression shifts from polite interest to barely concealed hostility. Mr. Grady, I didn't expect to see you here. I imagine not, considering you're sleeping with the same personal trainer as my wife. Her face goes pale, then red. I don't know what you're talking about. Brandon Holt, Elite Bodies, Room 12, Tuesday and Thursday evenings. I open my briefcase and pull out a photograph. This is you leaving his gym at 10:15 last Tuesday night. Interesting workout schedule. She grabs for the photo, but I pull it back. There are more, many more, including some very interesting text messages between you and Brandon about handling the Tom situation at Elise's workplace. What do you want? Justice, truth, maybe a little public humiliation. I check my watch. Elise goes on in 20 minutes. I think the audience deserves to know what kind of adversity she's really overcome. The luncheon is in full swing when I make my move. Elise is at the podium, radiant in a red dress, telling her carefully crafted story about surviving an abusive marriage and finding the strength to protect her daughter. The hardest part, she says, her voice breaking with practiced emotion, was realizing that the man I trusted, the man I thought loved me, was capable of such cruelty. That's my cue. Excuse me, I call out, standing from my table near the back. I think there's been some confusion about who's cruel in this relationship. The room falls silent. Elise freezes at the podium, her face cycling through shock, fear, and rage in rapid succession. Ladies, I continue, walking toward the front of the room. My name is Tom Grady, and I'm the abusive husband Elise has been telling you about. I'd like to share some facts she left out of her inspiring story. Security starts moving, but I'm faster. I reach the podium and plug my phone into the audio system before anyone can stop me. First fact, I announce as Brandon's voice fills the room through the speakers. The recording is crystal clear, him bragging to another trainer about his stable of desperate housewives, and specifically mentioning Elise and Miss Fenn by name. That's Brandon Holt, personal trainer and professional homewrecker, discussing his business model. Gasps and murmurs ripple through the audience. Elise lunges for the phone, but I sidestep her easily. Second fact, I continue as the recording shifts to Elise's voice from Zoe's birthday party, admitting the paternity fraud. That's my loving wife explaining how she used her dead ex-husband's sperm to conceive our daughter, then lied about it for over a year. The room erupts in shocked whispers. Several women are recording with their phones. This will be online within minutes. And finally, I say, producing the doctored photos from my briefcase. Here's evidence of how Elise created fake abuse photos using makeup and digital editing. Notice the inconsistent lighting and the metadata showing they were taken last week, not during our marriage. Security finally reaches me, but the damage is done. Elise stands frozen at the podium, tears streaming down her face, real ones this time. Miss Fenn has disappeared entirely. The truth is, I announce as they escort me out, I'm not the monster here. I'm just the idiot who believed in love and got played by a professional liar. The video goes viral within hours. Dirty Dale, a local gossip blogger with a massive following, picks up the story and runs with it. By evening, #Elise Grady is trending on social media, and not in a good way. But Elise isn't finished. Neither am I. 2 days later, I'm leaving the grocery store when Brandon's Porsche cuts me off in the parking lot. He gets out, all 6'2" of him.
He just gave me a massage, that's
A
it!
massage? With I Miss Your Body after?
Watch more on Grammarly.com.
Muscles bulging under his tight t-shirt. You think you're real smart, don't you? He approaches with the swagger of someone who's never lost a fight, destroying people's lives with your lies. My lies? I laugh, setting down my groceries. That's rich, coming from a steroid-addled gigolo who preys on lonely housewives. He swings at me, but I'm ready. Years of being the underdog have taught me to duck first and think later. His fist connects with the brick wall behind where my head used to be. Shit! He cradles his hand, knuckles bleeding. Violence isn't the answer, Brandon, I say, pulling out my phone. But public humiliation, that's poetry. I livestream the next 10 minutes to my Facebook page. Brandon, nursing his injured hand, watches helplessly as I pour protein shakes into his Porsche's gas tank and use spray paint to decorate the hood with the word cheater in bright red letters. You're insane, he shouts. No, I reply, still filming. I'm thorough. You wanted a gym video to go viral, right? Well, congratulations. You're about to be famous. The video gets 50,000 views in the first hour. Brandon's gym starts getting negative reviews from people who've never set foot in the place. His corporate sponsors begin distancing themselves. But the real victory comes when I check my messages that night. There's a text from an unknown number. Mr. Grady, this is Carla, Zoe's nanny. We need to talk. There are things about your wife you need to know. Things that will help your case. Carla meets me at a diner on the outskirts of town, away from prying eyes and gossiping neighbors. She's a middle-aged Latina woman with kind eyes and the weathered hands of someone who's spent her life caring for other people's children. I've been taking care of Zoe since she was 3 months old, she begins, stirring sugar into her coffee. I love that little girl like she's my own, which is why I can't stay quiet anymore. She slides a manila envelope across the table. Mrs. Grady, she's not a good mother, Mr. Tom. These are photos I took with my phone when she thought I wasn't looking. The images are heartbreaking. Zoe crying in her crib while Elise talks on the phone in the next room. Elise passed out drunk on the couch at 3 in the afternoon while Zoe plays alone on the floor. Empty wine bottles hidden in the laundry room, the garage, even the nursery closet. She drinks every day, Carla continues. Sometimes she's so hungover she can't get out of bed until noon. I've been practically raising Zoe myself. Why didn't you call Child Protective Services? I tried, but she's smart. She only drinks after I leave, and she's always sober when you come home from work. Plus, your mother, what about my mother? Carla's expression grows uncomfortable. Mrs. Evelyn, she comes over a lot when you're not there. She and Mrs. Grady, they drink together. And sometimes, she pauses, choosing her words carefully. Sometimes Mr. Brandon is there too. All 3 of them. The implication hits me like a physical blow. My own mother, the woman who raised me, who taught me about morality and family values, has been part of this betrayal from the beginning. There's more, Carla says quietly. Last week, Mrs. Grady asked me to lie to the lawyers. She wanted me to say you were violent, that you scared Zoe. She offered me $5,000. What did you tell her? I told her I quit. Carla's smile is sad but determined. I can't work for someone who would use her own child as a weapon. That evening, I drive to my mother's house, the same house where I grew up, where she taught me to believe in truth and justice and the fundamental goodness of family. The irony is so thick I could choke on it. Evelyn answers the door in her bathrobe. a wine glass in her hand despite it being only 7 o'clock. She's 68 years old, my father's widow, and apparently a functioning alcoholic who's been enabling my wife's lies. Thomas, she says, not inviting me in. I wondered when you'd show up here. We need to talk, Mom. About what? About how you're destroying your family over some silly misunderstanding? Misunderstanding? I push past her into the living room, the same room where she used to lecture me about honesty and integrity. She lied about Zoe's paternity. She's been having an affair. She tried to frame me for domestic violence. Which part is the misunderstanding? Evelyn sets down her wine glass and fixes me with a look I remember from childhood. Disappointment mixed with barely controlled anger. Elise is a good woman who made some mistakes. But you, Thomas, you're being vindictive and cruel. That girl gave you a beautiful daughter and a comfortable life, and this is how you repay her? She gave me a daughter that isn't mine. Biology isn't everything. The mask slips, revealing something ugly underneath. Do you think I cared about biology when I stayed with your father through his affairs, through his drinking, through all those nights when he came home smelling like other women? The revelation hangs in the air between us like poison gas. My father, the man I idolized, was a cheater. My mother, the moral compass of my childhood, was an enabler who chose denial over truth. You knew, I say quietly, about Dad, about Elise, about all of it. I know that sometimes we have to accept less than perfect to keep our families together. But you were always too weak to understand that, too sensitive, too much like your father in all the wrong ways. So you helped her. You helped Elise lie to me. Evelyn picks up her wine glass and takes a long sip. I helped her give you what you wanted, a family. The fact that you can't appreciate the gift shows exactly what kind of man you are. I leave without another word. There's nothing left to say to a woman who thinks deception is a gift and betrayal is love. But the universe isn't done with me yet. 3 weeks later, I'm in court for a custody hearing when my phone buzzes with an emergency call from Riverside General Hospital. Evelyn has collapsed at home. Massive stroke. By the time I reach the ICU, she's unconscious and hooked up to machines that beep and hum like a mechanical chorus of regret. The doctor is young, earnest, and delivers bad news with practiced compassion. The damage is extensive. Even if she regains consciousness, there will likely be significant cognitive impairment. Elise arrives an hour later, bringing Zoe and a performance worthy of an Academy Award. She cries, she holds my hand, she whispers about family and being strong and putting our differences aside. Zoe, now walking and babbling, reaches for me with chubby arms. Dada, she says, and my heart breaks all over again because I know it's probably the last time I'll hear that word from her lips. Evelyn dies 2 days later without regaining consciousness. The funeral is a surreal experience, sitting in the front pew next to the woman who destroyed my life, accepting condolences from people who think I'm a monster, listening to a priest talk about forgiveness and redemption while I plot my final revenge. She loved you so much, Elise whispers during the service, her hands squeezing mine. She just wanted us to be happy. Yeah, I whisper back. She was a real saint. After the burial, as we're walking back to the cars, Elise drops her bombshell. Tom, I've been thinking. Maybe we can work this out. For Zoe's sake, for your mother's memory. Maybe we can try counseling. Try to rebuild what we had. I stop walking and turn to face her. She's beautiful in her black dress, tears glistening on her cheeks, the picture of a grieving daughter-in-law. Behind her, Brandon lurks near the parking lot, trying to look inconspicuous in his ill-fitting suit. You want to rebuild what we had? I ask. Yes. I know I made mistakes, but we can fix this. We can be a family again. The family built on lies? The family where my own mother helped you betray me? That family? Her mask slips for just a moment, revealing the calculation underneath. Tom, be reasonable. You need me. You need Zoe. What are you going to do without us? Go back to your sad little apartment and your frozen dinners? Maybe, but at least I'll do it with my dignity intact. I walk away, leaving her standing among the headstones, with her mouth open and her performance wasted on an audience of the dead. But I'm not done, not even close. The plan comes together over the next month, like pieces of a puzzle I never knew I was solving. Every betrayal, every lie, every moment of humiliation has led to this, the complete and total destruction of everyone who destroyed me. Phase 1 begins with Elise's finances. As her husband, I still have access to our joint accounts and her work computer passwords. What I find there is better than I could have hoped. Systematic embezzlement from her PR firm's client accounts. Small amounts, carefully hidden, but totaling over $40,000 in the past year. I document everything, copy every file, trace every transaction. Then I send it all anonymously to her boss, the IRS, and the local district attorney's office. Phase 2 targets Brandon's business. His gym operates on thin margins and depends heavily on his reputation as a fitness guru. That reputation takes a fatal hit when I leak his steroid supplier's customer list to the State Athletic Commission, along with photos of Brandon injecting himself in his office. The commission launches an investigation. His insurance company drops him. 3 of his biggest corporate clients cancel their contracts. But Phase 3 is the masterpiece, the complete exposure of their entire conspiracy. Brandon's house sits on 2 acres of manicured lawn in the city's most exclusive neighborhood. He's throwing a party, some kind of crisis management gathering where he and Elise plan to coordinate their stories and salvage their reputations. I know this because I've been monitoring their communications for weeks. Modern technology makes surveillance surprisingly easy when you know what you're doing. The party is in full swing when I arrive. Cars line the circular driveway. Music pounds from the outdoor speakers, and beautiful people in expensive clothes mill around the pool area. I park across the street and wait for the perfect moment. At 10 o'clock, when the alcohol has been flowing freely and everyone's guard is down, I make my move. Brandon's security system is impressive, but not impenetrable, especially when you have his ex-wife's inside knowledge of his habits and passwords. I slip through the back gate and into the house through the kitchen door, which Natalie assured me he never locks during parties. The home theater system is in the basement, a shrine to masculine insecurity with its massive screen and surround sound speakers. It takes me 5 minutes to hack into his smart TV system and upload my files. Then I return to my car and wait. The screaming starts at 10:47 p.m. Through the windows, I can see chaos erupting as my carefully edited video compilation plays on every screen in the house. TVs, tablets, even the digital displays on his smart appliances. The footage is devastating. Brandon and Elise in compromising positions, recorded conversations about framing me, financial documents showing their money laundering scheme, and the crown jewel, a recording of Elise and my mother planning the original paternity fraud 3 years ago. Guests flee like rats from a sinking ship. Car doors slam, engines roar to life, and within minutes the party becomes a ghost town. I watch through binoculars as Brandon smashes his own television with a golf club, while Elise screams at him from across the room. But I'm still not finished. The next morning, every major news outlet in the city receives copies of the same footage, along with a detailed timeline of events and supporting documentation. By noon, the story is trending nationally. By evening, both Brandon and Elise are in police custody, him for tax evasion and steroid distribution, her for embezzlement and fraud. The final confrontation happens at the courthouse 3 weeks later. I arrive early, dressed in my best suit, carrying a briefcase full of evidence and a heart full of righteous anger. The media circus is everything I hoped for. Reporters, cameras, and a crowd of spectators drawn by the promise of watching powerful people fall. Elise and Brandon sit at the defendant's table with their lawyers, looking like they've aged 10 years in the past month. Brandon's gym has closed, his assets frozen, his reputation in ruins. Elise has been fired, charged with multiple felonies, and abandoned by every friend she ever had. When the judge calls for victim impact statements, I stand up slowly, savoring the moment. Your Honor, I begin, my voice carrying clearly through the packed courtroom. 3 years ago, I thought I was the luckiest man alive. I had a beautiful wife, a perfect daughter, and a future full of possibilities. What I actually had was a front row seat to my own destruction, orchestrated by people I trusted with my life. I turned to face Elise directly. She won't meet my eyes. The defendant didn't just lie about my daughter's paternity. She didn't just steal money from her employer. She didn't just commit adultery with a man who preys on vulnerable women. She committed the ultimate betrayal. She convinced me to love a child who wasn't mine, then used that love as a weapon against me. My voice grows stronger, more confident. But here's what she didn't count on. She thought I was weak, controllable, too nice to fight back. She thought wrong. Because while she was busy destroying my life, I was busy documenting every crime, every lie, every moment of her cruelty. And now the whole world knows exactly who Elise Grady really is. The courtroom is silent except for the clicking of cameras and the scratch of reporters' pens. Elise is crying now, her perfect makeup running down her cheeks in black streams. As for Mr. Holt, I continue, turning to Brandon, he's exactly what he appears to be. A predator who built his business on exploitation and his ego on other people's pain. The only tragedy is that it took this long for his victims to find their voices. I close my briefcase and straighten my tie. Your Honor, I don't want their money. I don't want their apologies. I just want justice. And thanks to this courtroom, this judge, and these cameras, I finally have it. The judge sentences them both to significant prison time. Elise gets 4 years for embezzlement and fraud. Brandon gets 6 for his various crimes. As the bailiffs lead them away in handcuffs, I stand in the gallery watching, surrounded by reporters and spectators who hang on my every word. Mr. Grady, a journalist calls out. What's next for you? I smile, feeling lighter than I have in years. Next, I'm going to rebuild my life without liars, cheaters, and enablers. I'm going to find someone who actually deserves my trust. And I'm going to sleep soundly knowing that justice isn't just a word. It's a promise that sometimes gets kept. As I walk down the courthouse steps, the crowd parts before me like I'm some kind of conquering hero. Maybe I am. Maybe after years of being the victim, the fool, the nice guy who finished last, I've finally learned how to win. The sun is shining, the cameras are rolling, and somewhere behind me, the 2 people who destroyed my life are beginning their journey to prison. And they say revenge is a dish best served cold. I prefer mine flaming, with a side of public humiliation and a garnish of poetic justice. For the first time in 3 years, I'm exactly where I belong.